Welcome back to Tell Us About, where I bring on content creators and interesting people, put them in the hot seat, ask them questions, and we do a little bit of banter. I share my own perspective, they share those, and we're joined, of course, today with Lolcohol. Thank you for joining us.
Good to be here. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic now that I'm talking to you, sir. So, you're at 19,000 subscribers on YouTube. And when did you start your channel?
I started on the 15th of September 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not too long ago. So a recent up-and-comer who's actually crushing it, actually has more subs than me, and is doing interesting things like I'm doing. He's doing remixes of songs for some of it. And so we're going to go in different areas in this conversation, such as skills he has from his past that helped him to get to where he was. And I'm sure he channeled a lot of that and can share that information. So what made you first just decide, I'm going to make some content?
It was something I've thought about for a long time. Something I've really been almost like envious of other people, but our internet was so bad. Like we had a 100 kilobyte upload speed or something until about 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, like, I don't know, like 2018, 2019 or something like that. And then when I got fiber, I still kind of like thought about it. I was like, should I do it? I don't know. Like maybe people hate it. And then I don't know what happened. One night I woke up at 11 p.m. and I just suddenly had an idea for a video, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I got out of bed and I wrote a script at about midnight for my first few videos, which you can find on my channel, on like how to get through the campaign more quickly. And I didn't have a plan. I was just like, I'm just gonna make these and see what happens. It's probably just another little phase. I tend to go through obsessive phases where I'm like, I'm gonna become a really good poker player, and then like 3 weeks later, I'm completely bored of it. But this just
I can relate to that, man. I go through think, you know what, my dream is I'm gonna be the best or whatever, and then you like do the first thing. Even like me just making my first video, I didn't know what I was doing. I'm like, yeah, this is a lot of work and interesting.
Yeah,
right, sorry.
And I 100% figured in a month I'm gonna hate this. I'm going to be bored of it. I'm going to do something else. But I feel like now this is kind of the thing that I always wanted to do. So I just did it. It just happened. It kind of happened by itself.
Yeah, I have such a similar story in that too. Like, I've never thought of myself as creative or anything in that aspect. I guess I was creative in how I solve problems for programming, but I've always thought of it as just like art. I've never kind of thought of myself as a good writer. But apparently, I mean, I'm better than average at writing scripts or structuring things or just figuring out problems and things and then explaining that to people. And then I have just attitude, I think, is the whole thing. But I just kind of put myself out there. And I was like, this thing is missing. I'm going to try to fill that hole. The hole that I was missing is, like, people in our Path of Exile content always showcase builds at 16, like, top tier maps, insta-killing bosses. And when I League started, I wanted to see, how does it perform right when I get into maps? So my first video or something was showcasing, like, complete budget, like 5C budget gear. Hey, you can get into these and you're going to be able to just hard stomp low tier maps. And a lot of people watched it and goes, well, why are you showcasing in low tier maps? And then some people were like, well, that's really cool, right? And
exactly right.
Then just from the process of doing that. So it's similar to how I did it, where I found some gap, thought of some idea, and I'm like, I've never seen that, and I think that's something people might enjoy. I'm going to try to make a video. I didn't know anything about recording myself. I didn't know anything about editing. Oh my gosh, it was so bad. Oh, it's so cringe hearing your own voice back to yourself. Oh, it's the worst, right? But I've gotten used to it. Did you
You
have
get
that
used to
problem too?
it. No, I've like done lots of singing and stuff, so
Okay.
I'm completely used to my voice. That's never been weird. But it is the first time you hear yourself, you're like, oh, do I sound like that? You don't let that stop you. You get over it.
Yeah, it eventually you definitely get over that. It took me like probably 40 videos to get over that. It
Really?
took me about that long to change. Like, it's a weird thing that happens. Like your brain rewires to like
Yeah.
adjust to what you
Yeah.
actually sound back in the playback.
Exactly.
And a
Yeah.
lot
You
of people
start
just
hearing
don't get to that
yourself.
point. The way that
Yeah.
other people hear it to a certain
Yeah.
extent.
Yeah.
But it was much
Exactly.
different prior to that. It's such a strange phenomenon. So when you got into content creation, what are kind of the skills that you had prior to creating content that you think helped you, and how did you acquire those skills? So one of the things that you mentioned, which you might not have realized, like there, an example would be you did a lot of singing, so you didn't have
Yeah.
to go through the same thing as me. What sort of things, thinking back, helped you?
I mean, like singing and recording all helped in terms of just knowing how to talk in front of a microphone and performing in a band, I guess. Like, that was never something I loved, but I didn't feel uncomfortable in front of people. And then probably the biggest one is I'm a podcast editor. That's what I do, 6, 7 hours a day. And that that made me aware of how to present content, I suppose, in a way that was digestible. I spent all day cutting out crap that doesn't need to be there. So I figured, hey, I know how to edit. So I would probably say those. And then, of course, the music. I don't know if you want to get into the remixes and stuff now, but that was absolutely figuring out how to get my music in part of Exile. That was something I started thinking about.
Yeah, we could go anywhere. Actually, I just realized now. I told you I'd do 2 segments with you, which, if you haven't checked it out and you're interested about Path of Exile, we just had a conversation about Path of Exile. But I think we're going to have to do a 3rd segment where you just tell me about editing podcasts, because I'm pretty
Oh, no.
interested in that overall in your job. So we might. So many just thoughts went through my mind. I'm like, oh, actually, I just want to know a lot about that. So I'm sure you could just tell me about that for 2 hours. It'd be really exciting. But yeah, sure. Did you, when you made your remix, were you producing a lot of music prior to that content that you made, or that was
Yeah.
your first go at it, or how
Oh,
did
no, no,
that come
no.
about?
I've been writing music for a long time before that, but all like, real music, like real songs, trying to express myself and that sort of stuff. But then you know what it was? There's a line from the Templar. He says, I must have time to gather my will. And that line always stuck out to me. It always stuck out to me as being like a really nice rhythm. And for years, I was like, someone should make a song out of this. Like, why is no one making a song out of this line, which is so like easy to stick to a rhythm?
Mm-hmm.
And then after I made a few videos, I was like, oh, right, I should be that guy. So I made that one, which was, I mean, you can find it on my channel. It's I must have time to gather my loot, which is a joke about,
Yeah,
heist.
yeah. Which, by the way,
um,
his channel will be in the description below, so check that out if you're
yeah,
interested, and we'll give some context and some links to the things that we're talking about in the description.
yeah, for sure.
Continue.
That was the first one. So if you want to check that out, check it out. And again, it was just like an idea, and I just did it, and then I just did more, and it was fun. I really want to make more of those. I haven't made a song for like
Yeah, why
4 months.
I haven't seen one since the Maven. What happened, man?
Yeah, they take so much time, and I'm so busy with work and then
Yeah,
videos.
how long does something like that actually take?
Uh, I mean, it depends. Like sometimes they will just happen really quickly, like the Casio one. that
Okay.
song made itself really fast. Like it, I remember when I was making it and just chopping up the voice lines, and when I hit that little divine power,
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, oh, this is cool, and then like it just gave me, I was just had a fire under me. What do you call
Well, the
it?
one part, like, one of my favorite parts from that remix is the one part when you're like, and the unrighteous will turn to ash. To ash. I don't know. I just get like a theater, vibe. To ash, whatever to it. And that timing is like always that one. Like that's one of those things. I almost have to jump in and sing along to ash or whatever. But it's just like a cool moment. How did you come up with like that to do that sort of thing? Is that like a rhythmic thing that you pull an inspiration from other
Probably,
things that you've seen, or it just kind of like, for me, when I sit down and do videos and get ideas for scripts or jokes that I'm going to do, they just kind of like epiphany come to me. I can't even explain
yeah,
some of the
yeah.
process. Is that what music is like for you, or?
When you get into that kind of flow state or whatever, it's just a blur. Like you will have something that grabs you, and then you kind of just black out for 2 hours, and then you have a thing at the end of it. And I don't remember every single tiny detail, but there are sort of like overarching ideas where I will, you know, you want to have the drop or whatever, the chorus, and then the unrighteous will turn to ash bit. You kind of want to bring it down so then you can then go back into another chorus. So those are just like basic songwriting techniques that I employ probably in most of the songs. And then also another thing, I don't know if anyone ever noticed it, but all of those songs have melodies from the league in which they came. So the
Mhm.
bass line in Disco Nun, so you're talking about blacking out. I found that a lot with music. So when you get an idea that just clicks, and that's what happened with that song, where something just catches your ear and you go, this is gonna be something good. You kind of just then go into that flow state where you will black out for a couple of hours, and then at the end of it you have this thing and you don't really remember all the specifics. But in terms of like broader ideas like songwriting things, that still applies even when you're in that kind of zoned out state where you're writing like the unrighteous bit, the bridge or whatever. That's like a basic songwriting technique where you want the drop to sound bigger, so you'll bring it down just before that. So that's where that section came from. And then another thing that probably most people don't notice, because either they don't play with the in-game music, but all of the songs have a melody from the league in which it came from. So if
Yeah,
you know the
that's
Blight
one of those
music,
things. Like I've heard the actual songs, like the Legion one is very popular, but I actually
yeah,
don't play with the music on a lot of the time, so I don't actually know
most
those
people
themes until
don't.
I do. Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, I'm one of those guilty people. And the music for the game actually is just, it's really good. You know what I
It's
mean?
so good. I don't know why anyone would listen to.
Other music
Okay,
and then just
well,
not the
okay,
league
sure, no,
stuff.
no, no. It's fine if you
It
want to
gets
listen to other
repetitive
music.
after a certain amount of time, like some of the stuff.
I guess
But
so.
when I
Yeah.
think back, like even like the StarCraft ones, like the Terran theme, that's still a
Oh,
banger to this day.
so
Did you ever play
nostalgic,
original?
so good.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, for
StarCraft.
sure.
Oh, just
Oh man. So I
yeah.
figured I would yoink some melodies from Camille and slip those in. So like the bass line from Disco Nun is actually the main melody from Light. I don't know
Okay.
if it's like, I don't know if you know the song, maybe just go listen to the Blight tune and then listen to the bass and you'll hear it. But also like all the other ones, like the Einhar one, there's melodies from the Einhar theme in there. I should do a video on one of those. I don't know. Is that something people want to see? Like, let's go into the music program and check out Disco Nun and see how it was made. Something I've been thinking about doing.
I think you should. I mean, may put it on a different channel.
Yeah, maybe. Although it's a
I
bit
think you
like,
should target it behind the scenes at a different channel, and then do what I'm kind of doing with this channel, which is like plug it on your main channel, get people. So just say, hey, are you guys interested on the behind the scenes? You could check it out here on this other channel. But I think the algorithm gets confused. Like if you do wide variety of things, algorithm starts getting confused, and then it doesn't know how to profile your channel. So it'll start showing that to people that don't want to care about that stuff. Then it'll look bad, right? Potentially.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why I think almost every like topic that you go a little bit too far, you should almost split. So then you could make, if that becomes popular, you can make a channel kind of like I'm making here where I just talk about content creation, but you could just like make a music creation channel where you're just giving a ton of tips and stuff like that, tutorials for the program to a certain extent, a thought process thing, which would be really interesting, and then do a series on the videos about an actual breakdown of your behind the scenes making. One of the things that I asked you, which we haven't touched on yet, is how long did that actually even take to make that one or the other one? You said sometimes when it comes to you, not as long because it writes yourself, but like how many hours do those songs take?
The thing that takes the longest is actually the video. So I'm pretty good at songwriting and knowing when something is working and when it's not, and when I should stop. So when I get into that mode of like, this is good, I'll like run with it, but I won't run with an idea that sucks. Like I can generally tell pretty quickly if something's not working. So the music writing is maybe like a couple of hours, maybe more. I haven't done one in a while because it's like a lot of chopping. Let's say 5 hours. Then the videos, man, the videos take so long. I have to cut all these like tiny things and like make them do turns. It's all like very low skilled video editing, but it takes a long time. So probably all in all, like if I do it quickly, 10 hours from beginning to end, but maybe more like 15 or something. And I don't have 15 hours all the time.
Yeah. Have you thought about just doing a solid background and then just
I mean, that's
song?
what I did that with the Maven song pretty much. And
do you think that's was less well received because of that? Did it take away from the video a bunch?
I think people like the video it's as well, but people like the Maven song, like even though it was a bit weird. But
that was a weird. Like I believe the comment that I left you on there is alternate one is Maven moaning for 2 minutes. That's so many of her voice lines, though. It really is. Like
I will. I'll see. Like maybe I'll do another one and see how people respond without a video if I don't have time. But
interesting. Okay.
I would like to.
What's on the topic of editing? What's the longest video type that you've ever edited, and like how long did it take? Like, is it build guides or the crafting guide or the songs? Like which of the
songs
types of
videos? Sure. Yeah, the songs for sure, and then build guides secondly. Yeah, because you need to. I mean, I don't do tons of build guides really, but when I do, I try to kind of actually with build guides, I've started trying to put all the information separately and then have a shorter build guide so that it's not like a 47-minute video where I'm telling you everything. Also, because I don't know everything about the build sometimes. Some people will know like the radius threshold to get max overlaps on like seismic trap. I don't know that, but then I'll try and at least provide value in terms of like, here's spreadsheets with the gems that you can find to level and where you get them and in which act. But yeah, I would say probably build guides, but music videos, those take ages.
Interesting. Geez, my journey's been a very interesting one because unlike you, I had no editing experience at all. Like I opened up DaVinci Resolve. I didn't really do any music editing ever either. I had no idea what I was doing. The other thing that was really hard for me was thumbnails. So like my first couple thumbnails took me hours to make. And then the video itself took me hours to make. Some of it because I was overthinking it. I was not trained at all talking on the camera. So I had to like do a billion cuts. So I got this like old school YouTube where it's like cut, and actually just like look like vegetables that you're cutting up down the line or something in the video. Oh, it's horrific. I actually should have just like saved that somewhere so I could just show people how bad some of my early content was as far as that. But you know what? Some of my early videos got like 10K views anyways. That's the thing. Like, you gotta put yourself out there. You don't know what people will like, and it's relative to other people and stuff. You have good energy. You don't have even like I didn't have as expensive equipment here. In some ways, I think if I would have just focused on the video editing part and my presence on screen and not even upgraded my tech and wasted all the time researching the tech and trying to get lighting right and stuff like that, I think what I had was actually fine. If I would just worked on my charisma at the start, then I would have probably taken off quicker, right?
Exactly.
And being
like
my personal...
Probably my biggest inspiration, and I think other people, if you're thinking about doing content creation, should do this. Go to your favorite content creator and watch their first videos. They're gonna be bad. Like the one for me, I love him, but Ziggy D, I watched some of his early videos and I was like, oh no, these are not very good. But I mean, he's such a charismatic, friendly guy now. But you go watch his old videos and you'll probably be like, I can do better than that. And then you'll try it and probably not.
And you'll realize you're as bad as he was when he started.
Yeah, exactly.
But the point is you could get there. Yeah, it's a skill that's trainable. That's what people don't see. And like a lot of mine are hidden, but I'll probably like on this channel go over some of those like early ones just to show how bad they are because I didn't delete them because I want them there. But what a lot of people don't realize too is a lot of content creators, this isn't the first channel that you're seeing. A lot of them created 2-3 channels that were unsuccessful. Now, was this your first channel that you did?
This was my first, yeah.
Yeah, it was my first as well. I kind of just got lucky that I filled some gap, like I said, that I knew that was there. And I did it with a build that I knew was really, really strong, which then after that got nerfed 4 times. And then I played the search engine optimization game, which no one was doing and most people aren't doing. And my first video on that channel got 10K views. It's probably going to take me so long to get 10K views on this channel. But, I mean, if you could find some gap in search engine optimization, you could just kickstart your channel entirely off of that. YouTube really gives you an opportunity to just get discovered. There's so many videos shown each day. There's a recent thing that came out, and videos, there's 600 million different content creator videos shown every single day on YouTube.
Wow. 600, what? 600 million?
Yes, different content creator videos shown.
Oh my goodness.
Like unique or whatever. Like some of them have multiple channels and stuff. But that's like a lot of just thumbnails shown that could click. And if you have if you can find any gap, they will. YouTube wants to give the video that people are going to enjoy the most is entirely designed for the person and the user experience. So if you have a video that's going to be better for that user and you have your channel correctly profiled, it's going to find a way to serve that up to that end user, especially if there's a gap.
Yeah. That stuff is so important. That stuff is really important. But I mean, if you're just starting, just don't worry about all that stuff. Just do it. That's, I think, the hardest part is just doing it and staying doing it, like not stopping.
Yeah.
But then once you get into a rhythm, then you do need to start paying attention to like SEO stuff. You know, how your thumbnails look, what is in the title. There's one person who I'm not going to name who started his channel around the same time as me, and I don't know I'm not saying this in a mean way. They've got really good content, but their channel's not growing because their titles and their thumbnails say nothing about the game or very little about the game. And I just want to be like, dude, put like the word PoE in your title and then it will show up on results, you know? But you get these titles that are just something no one would ever search for. The thumbnail doesn't look like the game. just like pay attention to those things, you know?
Yeah, not only that, the other thing is tags used to be a big deal like a year or
Yeah.
two ago, and it's not anymore. And what a lot of people, even the old content creators in our niche, don't know is how important the description is. Because
Yes.
the first 1 to 2 lines of the description actually show alongside the title. So you can add context to it or something interesting there. Not only that, the first couple lines there also really matter for the search engine and stuff like that. And so many people just put no description and just their social links,
Yeah.
and then they miss out on the opportunity where they could do a paragraph. So I write a paragraph like as if I was talking to a human being every time,
Yeah.
and I slam keywords that are relatable into there, but so it sounds like not a natural paragraph because like I
Yep.
overemphasize words, and it's like, well, that's really weird that you slam those words in there, buddy. But I do that, and it's that's the replacement for tags, and there's just so many people who don't do that. So then you really have an opportunity, if your niche doesn't understand that, to rank on search and get discovered, or even that's how YouTube decides how it's going to, like, what content it actually is off of reading that description. If you aren't doing that,
Yeah.
then you only have the words in your title.
Yeah.
And
And it's not enough.
so you're going to get the video shown to your audience first always. So if you built a big audience and they watch every single one of your videos, it's fine. But maybe you have audiences that aren't interested in every topic. And if you have that, then you're in trouble here, right? When you're doing the
Yeah.
title and stuff. Because long-term growth is going to come from either the search engine or just being in browse features and stuff like that. And the algorithm just continues to spread it. I'm still getting views on my videos every day that I post months ago and stuff.
Yeah.
Almost a year
Yeah.
ago, some videos served up. So always be thinking about the long-term sustainability of all your videos for sure.
Do you use Team TubeBuddy?
Yes, I use TubeBuddy, but basically the only thing that I mostly use it for is looking at people's graphs relative to my own to see how they performed obsessively, which I need to just, since I do that so much, unfortunately, I just need to write a program, and I probably will just like dump data into like a Power BI or something and just see everyone's. What I'm always interested in is the following. What is the trend of the market? And if someone is performing specifically well, did they hit on topics that people are interested in? And then maybe I'll watch their video and I'll say, okay, they had a 30, like, here's one of the things that I did at one point. Zizarin did a video and he did like crafting things, okay? And he did like 10 different crafting things in the same video. And he then didn't market it, I felt, in an appropriate way. And I was like, okay, I'm going to take just the explodey chest, but he made 20 assumptions. I'm going to take that exact craft, but instead of doing what he did, which he glossed over it, I'm going to do the super, like, you know nothing about it. How do you actually get the temple? What temple room are you looking for? How do you get that? So whatever, you know what I mean? Like that level.
I know exactly what you mean.
Or something, or well, sorry, that was a different one where I did the temple one, the double corrupt. I was like, use this base. If you hit the double corrupt on it, it was when Prism Guardian is. So I did that one where I took like a base that was popular, and then I made like a long form video, and then I took I showed like every little bit of the harvest craft for that explodey chest, and that actually was one of my best performing videos. They of course nerfed it, and I hid the video, but I think I got like 50K views on it. It was my highest performing video, and it basically was I marketed it differently than that, and I went into more depth of information. So there's always opportunities there where you could take one thing that someone glossed over in the part and make that into its own video, or something like that. So think of opportunities to market something specifically instead of just trying to squeeze all these things in. Make sure you're sticking to 1 or 2 topics. They're related to each other. And then don't be afraid to make 10 videos that are all 2 minutes instead of trying to make one video that's 20 minutes and just covers a bunch of stuff. That's sometimes better, actually, for the algorithm
I
and
think
stuff.
so. Yeah, and in terms of you mentioning like he kind of glossed over stuff. I think that's another important thing if you're doing PoE stuff is to not assume knowledge. And I think a lot of people who try and do guides make that mistake where they assume that the person knows a ton of things already. And of course you can't, start at the ground every single time you start a video. But some guides I've seen are you're like, that person doesn't even know what a suffix is, you know?
Yeah.
And you're trying to explain these like in-depth concepts to beginners and they don't understand like the bare bones. And then what else did you say? Oh yeah, in terms of content, like something I was really worried about at the start is like I can't make a video that someone else has already made. This already exists. But if you've got a spin on it or a different perspective,
Yeah, well,
you could just do it better.
You can make the same video as someone else, just market it better and be more charismatic. Let's be honest too.
Yeah,
it's not even going to be shown, and people won't really know. Now it could be a little bit scummy to do that if you don't at least put your personal style. Yeah,
I don't. Yeah, I don't mean like copy someone. But
well, no, I was super worried about that, like the topic or whatever. But I've moved so far to the pendulum of actually I might even copy the thing if I just think I could do it better and explain it better at this point, and then just market it a little bit better. Sometimes I realize that maybe I'll do that. Maybe they just don't like how that person explains stuff, so maybe I'll almost do the same video. Sometimes. If I thought it was a good
writing your own script and something.
Yeah, to a certain extent, you shouldn't be like stealing their script to a certain extent. But when you're saying so about a year and a half ago, I was at your point where I'm like, well, blah blah person made a toxic rain guide, so now I can't make. And now I'm just like, I'm gonna put my own twist on it, my little tweaks, and I'm just gonna show it off and put it out there. And some people will prefer me over other people, and some won't. And there's there's people who come into your then chat or comments and be like, blah, 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 did blah, blah, blah thing first. It's like, who cares? Yeah, exactly. You think in this game where most people are playing the same builds, it matters? You think I even know? Like, well, actually, if you look back to the history of the time on December of 2019, blah 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 came up with it. But what most people don't know is actually on December 2017, this person experimented with it. But they stole the idea from 20. You expect me to make a video, so I need to know the whole history of the build and then like credit everybody or whatever. Like, I don't have time for that, man. I want to make interesting content that people are gonna like and get them excited. That is my job. I know you think those things are. That's your problem. To go make your content where you tell them the history. Actually, that's an interesting video. Go tell the history of whatever build guide. That might be an interesting thing that no one's ever done. But don't come put your stuff on me, brother.
Like I feel. I mean, even with my seismic trap build that I did this league that came out and did really well. That video did really well, but I mean, it was an existing build. It was super popular in Gauntlet. All that I did was I updated it to the modern tree because the tree changed hugely. So there was an opportunity to go back and like look at old builds and then like present it in a way that someone else hadn't done. Like I described earlier, where I listed all the gems, where you can get them, like make the leveling process as smooth as possible. And then also the shopping list, like I have a shopping list where you just click a link and it opens the trade site to the page. Like it wasn't the most original build of all time, but if you package it in a refreshing way, then it's not yoinking someone else's content. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna reveal a secret here and get your take on things, okay? So here's something I've been doing that may or may not be obvious. I don't know how many of have you watched any of my like recent build guides at all?
I haven't watched your build guides. I've watched a couple of your videos though.
Okay. So what I've been doing is kind of like a build diary, but I just market it as a build for everyone.
Okay.
Now this is very confusing to people, and it's probably a bad user experience to a certain extent. But I kind of just like plug the next one and then link to the next one or link to the playlist and try to get them to the playlist in the video. But some people just take the POB and whatever, and then just don't do whatever. But what I've realized is what most people are doing is writing 45-minute build guides where you said, oh, well, I don't know everything, so I'm going to put some of it in text. And I'm just like, I ain't putting anything in text, okay? Here's what I'm going to do. And now I just started adding another step to this. But basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make several of them. Maybe a league start, no budget guide. I got right into tier 16 maps, and then I destroyed the content build. So I do 3 different guides where I talk about it. I show the gear at different steps. I kind of talk about that, and I showcase it at different parts. And now what I'm going to do is a little teaser before I even release the other one. You know what I mean? Or maybe I'm going to tease the thing. Because honestly, like, me going and doing 30-second videos or 1 minute 30-second videos where I'm just like, this build's coming up and it's really good, blah, 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 and showing some gameplay. And then just say, you better subscribe or you're going to miss it. I got more subscribers on those 2 videos than any of my other videos ever. It was a 30-second video and a minute and 30-second video. Yeah, I got like 900 subscribers on one and like 900 on another. Okay? And the build guide itself got like 350. And I'm like, okay, there's all these people watching it, but unless you like almost take away their thing, they ain't gonna subscribe. Yep. I wish they would, but this is the reality of it. So now, like, oh well, sorry guys, you've trained me to get my rewards for putting this out. So now I'm doing teasers all the time. Sorry, bro, you gotta deal with it. But like, I stretch that content, and then what I also do is, instead of trying to solve every problem, which most people do, I let people come to the Discord or I interact with the things and I figure out what the common questions, what I did poorly. I let the audience tell me what I did poorly, and then I make a video about that topic and put it out on the channel. So I will approach it that way instead of trying to do it with text. And that way I got more videos ranking and search for it with things that I know that people really care about.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Because think if you do one build guide, okay?
Yeah.
And then you have one video on said topic.
Yeah.
Now think if I do
to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Now think if I do it and I do a teaser, I do a budget, I do a map one, I do an endgame one, and I do questions. Now, if you and I are the only 2 people covering the topic, they have your 45-minute video. And then I have 10 videos shown in ranked and search right below that.
Yeah, you gotta find the balance between being spammy, though.
No, you don't.
No, you don't?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Why? Just earn all the results.
As long as the videos are not like spammy, low effort,
There's a balance. Okay, you can overdo it. Okay.
Yeah.
There definitely is a point that you can overdo it. So if that's what you're talking about, I don't think I'm at the point where I can overdo it. You don't want to do too many videos on said topic, though. When I first started, my whole thing was carrying golem, like being carrying golem expert, different ways to play carrying golem, how to craft every piece for carrying golem. That was my original channel that actually got me all the way to like 4,000 subs. I got it just off of carrying golem for 2 to 3 leagues, mostly. Okay, so like I had crafting every single piece separate videos. So I even took things that like I was answered all the time. So here's an interesting thing that I did. There was a big debate on which is better, Clay Shaper or Cold Iron Port Dagger. And just everywhere, no matter whose video I got on, is like, which is better. So I literally made which is better. That was the text at the top, showed the picture of both, and then comparing this and that. And I got ranked in search on that subtopic. And anyone was wondering the difference between those 2 things, then would watch that video. Okay. Yeah. And then I made this like giant playlist. I threw them all into the carrying golem playlist. And then in every single video, I said, this is part of a playlist where I did carrying golem stuff, and I plugged the playlist. So then I got some of the videos that would have done worse did better.
Yeah.
So then like
pointing at them.
Yeah, I'm using my topics that people wouldn't care about or the algorithm wouldn't care about as much, and I'm putting them in the same playlist with the other thing, which is a ton of good information, but it's information that the algorithm wouldn't know that you would want to see probably, and wouldn't know how to characterize it. So I tried to determine, like, okay, this is a good topic, but people probably don't search for that specific thing, but they do have that question. Then I'll throw that into the playlist. And then if you look at the playlist, right, then you get to it.
Yeah.
This is the next level things. This is why I'm where I'm at, right? Now, lately I've been doing my charisma, and that's why I like took a, I don't know if you saw in November I got 4,000 subs in that one.
Yeah, I noticed
so I had
that.
like 50 something percent growth on the thing. So I definitely know how to position strategies when I do these pushes to grow my channel really quickly instead of the consistent. Where I fall apart is I get really bored of the game and then I don't want to make content on it. That's why I'm hoping this channel, I could talk about this infinitely, whereas that I can only play Path of Exile so long.
Yeah.
And then the interest on it peaks. Maybe we should talk about that a little bit, about like the cyclical nature of Path of Exile. Does that get in your head where like it spikes at the start and almost you just put out any content and people are just latching onto it? Like it's what, have you ever, in the US we have, it's kind of crappy, but we have these fish called carp. And at carnivals, there's like this carp pit, and they basically eat trash, and people feed them like popcorn. Okay, and so this is I love analogies and just like tying things to other relatable things. So basically, in this analogy, content creators are the people throwing the popcorn, and the viewers are just are like starved for eating and just latching onto every little Path of Exile content they can get pre-league, and then it just like couple weeks afterwards, then like the interest kind of
fish are full.
Exactly.
Well, I use that to my advantage, because what happens at the start of every league, and this used to stress me out, because if you're full time, it's hard to put out a ton of content, and everyone is waiting. Like if you put out a video, it's gonna get thousands of views just because the timing is right. But I can't do that. And what a lot of creators will do is they'll put out like 2, 3, 4 videos a day, and I can't compete with that. But the thing that I figured out is those people all burn out so fast because they have they'll spend a month and a half playing this game 8 hours a day, making videos for it constantly. And then what happens every single league, without fail, is they just stop posting videos for like a month and a half. Or like even a month into the league, they'll go from like 2 videos a day, like 30 videos in a month, to, posting 2 videos in a month. That's where I come in. So I've been trying to not get too stressed about league start. I'm like, let the big people have their time in the spotlight. This is their peak. I'm going to come in from behind and get all those views once they've burnt out. And it happens every time. They always burn out, which is fine. So try find your, I don't know how to turn that into like a tip, but like find a place where you fit in Path of Exile if you want to do it yourself.
Well, look at, I guess, one point is what he's saying full time is he works full time and I do too. We're doing this as side, and we're competing with people who actually are just doing the content creation full time and stream full time, just to put context to that. How I would describe what he's saying is, sometimes it's everyone's so sure that the meta is to rush to content at the start of the league and really take advantage of that. And what happens is there's then a shortage of content in the other period because just no one's making it. And YouTube overall prioritizes more recent content. They've talked about this in some of the recent behind the scenes things they've revealed. So recency very much matters. So it'll rank your videos if you have a more recent one, or at least attempt to rank it out there relative to it, especially in the trending Path of Exile. So what he's saying is he's made a strategy that everyone was so sure of this thing, but he actually does the opposite, and he has had massive growth right in that period. And lots of people have written it off as you cannot grow in that period, but actually that's entirely where your growth happened in the last little bit. Didn't you go from 8K almost to 16K, right? You gained about almost 8K in the period for the last league,
Yeah.
because it was
Yes.
specifically, it was a really bad league that most people made content for 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. So what I'm saying is, where a lot of people think there aren't opportunity or think it has to be a certain way, there are untapped opportunities if you're open enough to realize it. People get,
Thank you for articulating that.
yeah, people get just so
Yeah.
trapped in thinking one way or copying the top content creators. There are gaps all over the place that people can't see. Uh-oh, what's that?
Sorry for
Okay.
the bonks. I bumped my table and then my screen slid down. You can put it in the blooper reel, whatever.
Yeah,
Sorry about
yeah.
that. But you're articulating this very well.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's the thing. So I mean, it's kind of like people think things are a certain way, and you got to look at it as, where's the opportunity? What have they overlooked? And the funniest part about that is sometimes they might think that that's the optimal strategy, and there might basically be, like, if you look at it as like let's see here. Let's say a loaf of bread. Everyone is trying to cut off the far left 10th of that loaf of bread. Everyone thinks that there's only 10% of that loaf of bread. But there's actually more. There's 90%, and not a single person is aware that that thing exists. And that's the beauty of YouTube right there. That exists everywhere. That's what gets me so excited about just making content.
Yeah, exactly. Finding those opportunities, little gaps in the market, and especially for new people, that is when you're going to get your videos watched. If you're going to start with part of Exile specifically, can I just do a quick pause?
Yep. Hello, James from the future. So that quick pause turned out to be months and months, and so it didn't happen yet. But we will get back to it as the league dies down a little bit here and finish that interview. In the meantime, make sure that you're subscribing to the channel, liking the video, and check out Lolcohol stuff. His meme videos are a gold mine, and there's a link to it in the description.